Hello there, Internet people. It's your good buddy Rue, here to, well, at first, apologize for completely missing the holiday season and the RUview for you to go out and buy gifts for adults. I did the one for kids, which was the previous episode, so go back and watch that. And second, I'm just going to go ahead and do the comics for adults review anyways. The slight difference between this and, I guess, normal comic books for adults is this is more focused on comics for people who don't read comics. Maybe just to get them into the genre as a collector, or just so that they read a good story that just happens to have pictures. I could go with your standard Sandman, Y the Last Man, Mouse, or even Bone. And all of these comics I know are good for non-comic readers because I've given them to my wife, and she's read and liked them all. And if Bone isn't on a list of standards for non-comic book readers, it completely should be. Other than that, I'm going to try to do some other books that maybe aren't talked about enough for non-comic book readers. 3 superhero books and 3 non-superhero books. And before anybody yells at me after watching this, yes, I know there are plenty of other books that would be worth mentioning here, but these are the 6 I thought of first, and I'm kind of lazy. So starting off, we have Incredible Hulk, Planet Hulk. This is mostly a standalone Hulk storyline that will, if it hasn't already, go down as one of the best Hulk stories ever. And one of the things that's good for non-comic book readers is you really don't need anything more than a cursory knowledge of the Hulk backstory. And here you go. Bruce Banner turns into Hulk. Hulk smashes stuff. All the Hulk wants is to be left alone, and a bunch of heroes got together and tricked Hulk and shot him off into space so he would stop smashing things all over Earth. There. Done. You're all caught up. Planet Hulk is written by friend of the show Greg Pak, and it is basically what would happen if Spartacus got superpowers, but totally more awesome. And before you start thinking, well, Rue, this is just a violent comic book masquerading as a story, the last time I read this was maybe like a month ago. I was struck by how emotional this book is, and how at the end I felt what the Hulk felt. I was there with his friends, and I wanted what they wanted, and it was just very emotional, which surprised me again on a second reading. Like I said, this is mostly a standalone book with fantastic art by plenty of various artists. And again, lazy, so I'm not going to list them all, so please don't sue me. But this does lead into more stories later on if you want. But I don't think it's necessary at the end of this book to read a following book to enjoy this story, which is, again, all this is really about. This is an oversized hardback of Planet Hulk, which I found very cheap, but it is currently out of print in a hardback. But I do know that the trade paperback, which will be cheaper, is available all over the place. Moving on. Invincible. I recommend this book for anybody who wants to get started on a superhero book. Maybe for kids, I'd say maybe around 12 and up, but doesn't want to care about continuity, backstory, 60-plus years of stories that might be referenced, might not, and might be overlooked. This, Robert Kirkman and Cory Walker, who both created this. Robert Kirkman is best known for the AMC show Walking Dead. Created a whole new universe. The benefit of that is that it's creator-owned. Both Kirkman and Walker can do whatever they want. They can kill characters who they no longer need. They can change where the story is going on a dime. And honestly, by issue 10, even, which is in here, but if you get the slimmer, cheaper trade paperbacks, I think that's in the second volume. Everything becomes not completely opposite of what you thought it was. And I love this book. I look forward to any new hardback that comes out, and it's hard for me not to buy the it released on a more regular basis, there we go, thin ones, that are cheaper, but then I'd have to double dip and buy both, and because I'm a sucker for format continuity. But either way, the only deterrent maybe to this book is that it's still ongoing, and which means I don't know when it's going to end. It's not a finite story yet. But with as many trades that are out, I think we're up to maybe 15 or 16 of ones this size and 7 of ones this size. There's plenty out there to catch up, and you can either go monthly after that or just wait 6 months for the next volume, which is mainly what I do, and I think a lot of other Invincible readers do. I can't say enough about it. The length shouldn't be too daunting again, because everything you need to know is in these books. And finally, for superhero, I'm going with Starman. This is quite simply, and I'm not being hyperbolic, I am not being, I don't think I'm oversaying how I feel about this. Starman is quite simply the best superhero book I've ever read. More than Watchman, if you count that as a superhero book, even Sandman or Swamp Thing, again, if you think of those as superhero books, Starman took this genre to an emotional and storytelling level that I never thought possible. By the end of book 1, I was more emotionally attached to these characters than anything I've read before or since. Yes, Starman is a DC book, which is your company that gives you Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and all that other jazz. But the city and the story kind of takes place all on its own. And anytime you need to know anything about any other superhero story going on in DC, it is explained in the book. You don't need to have any prior knowledge to mostly anything that I can think of. We all know who Batman is there. At some point in time, he sees Batman. It's either in the story or in the introductions, which are just phenomenally written, and the epilogues, I guess they're called, or outros, talking about Tony Harris and his experience writing, not Tony Harris, James Robinson, sorry, and his experience writing this, Tony Harris draws it, make just for a great volume and something I enjoy having on my shelf. Right now, as far as I know, the only way to get Starman is the 6 overpriced hardbacks that are all out that make up an omnibus. They're slightly more expensive than any of the trades that I've spoken about already or will, but I think they're completely worth it. James Robinson, Tony Harris just flips mainstream comic books on their head, and basically flashbacks, journal entries, POV shifts, mystical mysteries, all of these make up a small portion of what Starman has to offer. Even if you are an avid comic book reader and have never read Starman, just go out, get volume 1, find it used on eBay, get a cheap copy off Amazon, do whatever you need to do, but get this book. You won't be disappointed. Now, for the non-superhero books that I'm going to talk about today, I've picked 3 from kind of different areas of non-superhero books. A very serious book, a more fun type book that isn't really superhero, but kind of falls along that feeling. Like you feel kind of up and happy while reading it, and one absurdly hilarious and violent book that always puts a smile on my face. Starting off with the serious one, we have Criminal. Created by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, Criminal is basically a crime noir story for this millennium. Each volume, and this is the first one, and I think there's 6 or 7 out, they're all standalone. You can read volume 3 without caring ever about volume 1. They all take place kind of in the same area and the same time, so you might see references, but nothing that distracts you from the story. They're all about survival, crime, loss, death, basically everything that makes a crime noir book great, movie, story, whatever you've ever seen about noir, they're all in here. This is noir. This is a throwback to that time and place, which means that if you're looking for something light, warm, happy endings, Criminal's not what you want to read. But if you want one of the best comics to come out of the last decade, go pick up volume 1. It's called Coward. I think it's been optioned even for a movie or a TV show. I don't remember. And just enjoy the ride it gives you, because you really will be amazed. This is one of those books that show you what the comic book format can do. And it's just a brilliant, beautiful book that nobody I know can say enough about. Moving on, we have Chew. This is an Image comic created by John Layman and Rob Gilroy, and we've talked already about what creator-owned can mean. And it has one of the more creative premises I've ever come across in any format. In a world where chicken is outlawed and the FDA is the most powerful law enforcement agency on the planet, you need a special kind of detective to solve the worst crime food has to offer. I'm done with that voice now. Enter Tony Chu, which, CHU, I just now, after a couple years of collecting this, noticed that homonym, so I'm not all that bright. And I'm going to totally butcher how you say this. Kibopathic. We all know I said that wrong. Go look it up. Which means that he can tell where, what, who, and any other psychic residue, where it all came from anything he eats. And I'm not talking about just food. I mean anything. The art, the scripts complement each other to near perfection. What you're looking at and what you read all create one perfect world. And if they ever need a fill-in writer or fill-in artist on this series, I'm not sure it would work. I think you need both of these guys working together. This book is still an ongoing like Invincible, but it has an end time. I think it's 50 or 60 issues, and again, that's all if I remember correctly, but I do know that everything I've read from the creators has said that this isn't going to go on for 100, 300 plus issues. They have a set story they want to tell. Again, this is the Omnivore edition. This is the first one. There's 2 out by now. But there are smaller, cheaper trade paperbacks, just like with Invincible, that tell half the story that's in here. And I'd show it to you, but I'm fairly certain that I gave it away. But also, if you have a tablet or a smartphone with a bigger screen, I know that Chew and Invincible are available day of publication digitally through Comixology. And probably most of everything else I've talked about, Criminal, maybe just Criminal, is available there as well. And Comixology has an app for Mac, OS, and you can even read from it on your computer screen if that's what you're into. I really, on a purely fun level of something that constantly puts me in a good mood, I don't know of anything that I have more fun in reading than Chew. And finally, I'm giving you the book that I've read dozens of times that always makes me laugh. Barry Ween, Boy Genius. And from the blurb on the back, Barry Ween is Calvin and Hobbes on PCP. And Garth Ennis, writer of some of the best comic books that I can think of, The Boys, Punisher, and just a whole bunch of other enjoyable, good comic books, is a fan of Barry Ween, and, well, so am I. Created by Judd Winick, and if you have a memory of the 90s like I do, yes, the guy from the real world. Barry Ween, look at this. It looks like it's a kid's book. And I'm warning you right now, and you can't say I didn't warn you, do not give this book to a child. Let alone an 8-year-old, which is what it looks like this is for. From start to finish, and Barry Ween, and just to go back to that, sometimes I'm not sure I'm old enough to read Barry Ween. But from start to finish, this book will have anybody laughing, thinking, tearing up. Come on. I do comic book podcasts. You weren't expecting machismo from me, were you? I have no problem admitting that sometimes some of these comics get me right here. And one of the more impressive things about this is the crude humor never crosses over into that line, into gross, which, in my opinion, too many comics anymore take the easy way out with crude and go to disgusting. Again, there are volumes that collect just simple. This is the complete Barry Ween that collects individual stories, but I think that even one volume of those is somehow more expensive anymore than just this book. If you just want something that you can always pick up that would cheer you up over and over again, buy this. If you need someone who needs a pick-me-up, get this for them. And if you don't, Barry Ween might come after you, and after you read 3 pages, you'll know that he's not someone you want to have as an enemy. This went long, 15 minutes. I hope you stay for the whole thing. Someday I might do more comics for non-comic book readers, but until then, have a good one, and later, people.